What's going on, everybody? Grady here for another review, and today we got ourselves a 2018 Ford Mustang GT350. If you guys didn't already know, this is the top of the line Mustang offered right now, currently, before GT500s come out and this thing gets down the pecking order. But a little bit of history on the Shelby. Shelby is the kind of in-house tuning for Ford. They've made lots of different variants. They've been known for their high-performance Mustangs, such as the GT500 and now the GT350. This is based off the S550 generation, which was new for 2015 and now carried through into 2018. There has been one mid-cycle refresh, but with that, the GT350 does maintain the 15 to 17 headlights, because Ford decided it would go a little better with that just aggressive, really nice looking front end that this thing has. And for the power plant, you got a 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, and what's super cool about it is that it's a flat plane crank, and you wonder, like, what does that mean? It's basically allows the motor to run a higher RPM and more horsepower, even though it's naturally aspirated, and creates a very unique exhaust note due to its firing order. So this car becomes super rev happy, and most of its power is at the top end, which for a driver's car is more than a fun thing to deal with. So as you can see, this is the 2018, but they retain the 15 to 17 taillights, which in my opinion, I think do look better, but still very nice. You got 6 piston Brembos in the front, as well as 4 piston in the rear. Drilled rotors, and also kind of a cool thing, not for this option, not for this model, but the 350R, is that you can get carbon fiber wheels. Very cool thing for a production car to offer, considering how complicated and expensive it can be to manufacture those, especially on a decent scale. But for the most part, it does keep the same Mustang styling, that traditional silhouette that we're all familiar with for the last couple of years. And I think really the GT350 just kind of takes it up a notch, brings in a little bit more aggressive styling, performance, and just puts it at a reasonable price, that Ford has always been known for. So how about let's fire this thing up, go for a drive, and talk about why this thing is just so special. Alright guys, hopping into the front seat here of the Mustang GT350. First things first, these seats, they aren't actually the Recaros that you get in the standard GT350, so it's actually an option, weirdly enough, to get the normal seats, but I do like the suede Alcantara inserts, and overall the dashboard looks relatively the same to any other Mustang. So this one does have the larger infotainment screen with the Sync 3 that I definitely like a lot more than the Sync of old. Overall though, love the Alcantara steering wheel, shifter, love the notchiness to it. Clutch is a little weird, but we'll figure out how that goes after we start rolling. I love on the dashboard with the kind of double eyebrow look here, it's got the chassis number, which is pretty sweet, and then the kind of similar performance pack gauges that you would see in like a GT Mustang. And yeah, overall though, I do like this interior. I think it's a nice, tasteful upgrade over the standard GT, but just overall Mustang interiors have improved a lot over recent years. So let's just fire this thing up and go for a drive. Yeah. it is just intense. It is so intense, and you're just kind of speechless, honestly. No, so this is an upgraded manual from the standard GT.
The standard GT has the MT82, which there's a lot of complaints about,
it, and this is the Tremec TR6060.
Yes.
Okay. And I love that. I love how it just it flows into the next gear so nicely. It's not super notchy and like aggressive. It still works well.
Because before this, I had a manual GT with the MT82, and you don't think it's a bad transmission, but then going to this,
you're like, wow, look at them. Look how much better it is.
This is it's more positive, like,
yeah,
when you go into gear, like, you know you're in gear, and
100%.
you don't have the lockout issue with the third gear that's in the MT82s. It likes to be shifted fast.
Yeah.
And the clutch too helps with that.
People have kind of given the clutch a bad rap, and honestly, I think it does a pretty good job with accepting, the aggressive driving that this car kind of deserves. Honestly,
I like this clutch more than the one in the GTs.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint about those, as well as the assist spring, where it just really pushes back on you.
But I think this just is a good kind of blend of it. Good for aggressive driving, but also good for the daily driving.
Easy to drive in traffic, stop and start.
Yeah, totally. Because it helps. Yeah. It has enough torque in the low end where you can get out of your own way. If there's traffic or whatever, you can spin around. It's not a big deal. But this thing just pulls like nobody's business when you're up in those higher RPMs. The brakes, the 6-piston calipers are just, they yank you to a stop. And that is crazy. I mean, for a car like this, you're going to have a lot of speed through any turn, but to be able to stop well,
it is a heavy car.
Yeah, it is a heavy car, so they got to beef up the brakes. But I think this car just deserves to just be driven. With a lot of the cars I put on this channel, I mean, I hope that people go out and they really enjoy them. And this car not only is fun to drive, but it rewards you with your driving.
Yeah.
It rewards you to go out and just push that a little bit more on that turn, a little bit higher than RPM to change gear. And that's the kind of car I'm always searching for. To find that perfect car, that perfect blend of daily driving and still a lot of fun. Changed your mind on what a Shelby branded Mustang can allow to be put out in the market for? Do you think it's different, or they stay the same?
I mean, I guess the original goal of the first GT350 was to be a track car.
Yeah.
And this car does a great job handling wise, but it's also, you don't have many sacrifices in the process. And when people say this car's that much better than the normal Mustang GT, like, I was skeptical myself, thinking, okay, the engine has a little bit more power, handles a little bit better, but it really does feel like a completely different car.
I love the balance that this car kind of offers for it being not the most hardcore version, but still a hardcore version.
Getting a GT350, you kind of have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's one of those cars where...
Yeah, you're right, one of those cars.
You're not going to buy on accident.
And it's not 0 to jail in half a second. It's enough power to have fun. It really is. It's enough power to have a lot of fun, actually. I think for a car like this and what its kind of intentions are, more power just wouldn't make a lot of sense, because this this car has the capabilities. Its goal is to be a great track car. Okay, so
especially the R.
Yeah, especially the R. But we'll say the GT350 in general is a good, like, back roads, canyon carving, track car, stuff like that. The only thing with these, with those track cars and stuff, if you want to go faster, a lot of it is up to the dynamics, not just the power. I mean, a Hellcat is a great example because that's a really fast car in a straight line, but they don't handle horribly, but it's a really heavy car that is more focused on the intentions of going fast, and that's its job, and it does its great job. But people believe that automatically going around a track fast has to be big horsepower. Well, it's not really. I mean, this is just a good balance between chassis dynamics and enough power to get you around a turn at pretty quick speeds. I will say that clutch was a little tricky in the beginning, but
you learn to like it.
You learn to like it really quick. Expensive. Oh, I stalled it.
The thing about this too, there's 3 different steering modes as well.
Yeah. And this is just in sport. So is this the kind of middle of the road setting?
This is the sport is the most aggressive.
Oh, it is the most aggressive.
Sport, and comfort.
Yeah, I do notice is in those kind of sharper turns, it's very stiff, but it's just on that point of overly stiff. It's not too bad. I've driven some cars where it's so much you're like, you gotta yank the wheel over, and you're like, why is it like this? Because that's not sporty. That's just kind of uncomfortable.
With the steering, the suspension, the exhaust, like those, you can change individually.
Okay.
While also, like, if you put it in sport mode, it'll put it in sport steering, loud exhaust mode.
Is there any like customizable modes, or are they just you can just kind of like
there
tune it
is
how
many
you want?
Custom modes, which would be nice because then you can.
Because you'd say, I want it in softer suspension but louder exhaust, and maybe like medium steering or something.
And obviously you can just change it every time you get in.
It's not a big deal.
It can be annoying, but it becomes a habit of
magnetic ride, which a lot of you guys don't know. I mean, magnetic ride, it's a complicated thing. I'm not an engineer here, but basically it's a shock that's surrounded by this magnetic fluid that is when you're going to a turn or when you just drive along and you hit bumps or imperfections in the road, it just changes within milliseconds of time that the damper can kind of adjust so that it can have a controlled body roll, whether it's for a better ride or for better handling. So,
and that's the thing too, like it doesn't stop body roll, but it slows it down.
That's kind of the big thing.
Enough
to control your driving. Yeah. When we were coming across some turns and you hit the brakes, I mean, the whole car, the brakes are very aggressive, so you really come to a stop. But the thing is, it doesn't get squirmy. It just kind of softly dampens itself down, and it does. Looking out over too, just noticing this is the visibility on this car really solid. Actually, I was a little nervous. I'm like, oh, maybe because I know the 2015, 2017, the hoods they gotta have the little fins on the top where it's a little tricky to see, and the hood like sticks out really far. The hood drops off pretty nicely. I like that.
It's very differently shaped.
It is
in the middle. It's
shaped,
higher, and then on the sides
it just kind of falls down. So when you're driving, you don't get a big obstruction of the hood. And visibility out the front, the sides are great. I love the little 3/4 window over there, and the view out the back actually is quite nice. You definitely feel like you could log a lot of miles in this car.
And I have.
Yeah.
On a short period of time.
This thing just goes, man, it goes! I definitely need it. It's just that type of car that works for how I drive and the way I like to drive, yet know, because I love to just get out on the highway and take in the miles. I really do. It's like my favorite pastime. But I also don't mind hopping on a twisty road and carving up the turns. And this car just balances all of that. Modern cars, modern muscle cars, sports cars, whatever we want to call the Mustang at this point, whatever it's doing, it's killing it. So I just like to thank the owner, Tanner, once again for letting me take this thing out and absolutely change my perspective on how fun a car can be and how drivable it can be. So I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic day. Stay awesome.
Feeling